We supported civilian control of the military. I didn't know if my boss or any of my people were Republican or Democrat. I didn't know. I didn't care. And I felt that way, as did many of my colleagues, until the 6th of January, 2021. And that's when we realized that, wait a minute, things have really gotten out of control here. And we look back to, you look back to the 30s in Germany. What happened there? How did the Nazi Party rise? Is because good people didn't stand up and be heard. Bad things happen when good people just stay by silent.
So, a bipartisan collection of 741 former senior national security leaders has today endorsed Kamala Harris ahead of the election. They say that former President Donald Trump is a danger to America's democratic ideals. As I promised you a couple of moments ago, we are going to talk to former US Brigadier General Steve Anderson. A very good afternoon from London.
Nice to see you and great to be with you.
Well, it's absolutely our pleasure. Could you start by just explaining a little bit more about this group, these 741 people? Who are they?
Well, I'm very proud to be part of National Security Leaders for America. Many of them are like me, former Republicans that are absolutely, befuddled by what has taken place in the grand old party, the Republican Party that we once loved and supported. Ronald Reagan and Mitt Romney and George Bush, both of them. And just to see what Donald Trump has done to just divide the country and to absolutely destroy the party. In fact, if you look at Kamala Harris, most of her platform was very, very similar to a traditional Republican platform. But nevertheless, we got together and we said enough is enough. It's very difficult for military people such as myself to get involved in the political cauldron. We were raised in an environment in which we were totally apolitical. We supported civilian control of the military. I didn't know if my boss or any of my people were Republican or Democrat. I didn't know. I didn't care. And I felt that way, as did many of my colleagues, until the 6th of January, 2021. And that's when we realized that, wait a minute, things have really gotten out of control here. And we look back to, you look back to the 30s in Germany. What happened there? How did the Nazi Party rise? Is because good people didn't stand up and be heard. Bad things happen when good people just stay by silent. So we felt that it was the time to step up and make our voices heard and express our support for Kamala Harris and our opposition to Donald Trump and everything that he is and represents.
Well, you've certainly not minced your words. A choice between serious leadership and vengeful impulsiveness. It is a choice between democracy and authoritarianism. Can I ask you, though, whether you do have any concerns that Kamala Harris is an untried and untested politician on the world stage at a time of real geopolitical doom?
Well, I must admit that when I first heard of her candidacy, when Joe Biden more or less abdicated his position in favor of Kamala Harris, I thought that perhaps the best thing she had going for her was that she wasn't Donald Trump. But since then, I have been incredibly impressed with her ability to coalesce the Democratic Party, which I thought was impossible. Again, you're talking to a lifetime Republican here. But then I've looked at her record of achievement, her experience. She's met with 120 world leaders. She's met with Zelensky like 6 times. She's been a public servant her entire career as a district attorney, as a state attorney general, a U.S. senator, and now the vice president. She could be a high-speed lawyer making millions of dollars every year, but she's kind of, she loves her country and she supports her country. And that's impressed me as well. And the fact that she understands NATO, the NATO alliance is absolutely vital, and she absolutely gets it, as does Joe Biden. Has done a wonderful job of supporting the Ukrainians, because remember, the Ukrainians are not just fighting for themselves, they're fighting for everyone, all of us, all of NATO, all the United States, world peace and order, and so she's she's come across as a strong supporter of NATO, which is, of course, just the opposite of
Mm.
Donald Trump. He thinks NATO is like joining a country club, and if you don't pay your dues, you get kicked out or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no idea.
He has
He
basically said
doesn't
exactly
understand.
that, hasn't he?
NATO has built the, I just real quickly,
Yeah.
NATO has built for 75 years, has stimulated the prosperity that so much of Europe and the United States enjoys. NATO is absolutely vital.
I think we lost you a little bit there at the end, but we got the gist
I'm
of exactly what you were saying. We've only got you for a minute or so, and I do just want to
sure.
ask you such an important question. You've mentioned a couple of times that you've been a lifelong Republican supporter. What do you say to people who you must still see within the Republican Party and movement who do still want to vote for Donald Trump?
I'm I I struggle. I just honestly I just can't I don't get it. I mean, there's so many things that he does almost every day that'd be totally disqualifying in a previous era. I mean, this ridiculous comment about Haitians eating dogs and pets in in Ohio. I mean, just things like that he says that he says that that doctors kill babies after they're born. And I mean, just nutty crazy things. The fact of the matter is that Donald Trump has tapped into this hatred and these grievances that people have, and that he has a lockhold on them. I mean, my own father, who unfortunately we lost a little while ago, I would argue with him. He was a Donald Trump supporter, and it just befuddles me because I think everything about him, he sends absolutely terrible message of what we want our people to do. He's total antithesis of every
Mm.
value and every character trait that I was taught at West Point and in Sunday school and the whole my entire life. I mean, he's the antithesis of that. But we've got to stand up. So I'm just hoping that people like myself coming forward that previously stood on the sidelines, people like that will slowly convince people that the time is to change. We need to get rid of Donald Trump. We need to restart the Republican Party, hit the reset button, and elect Kamala Harris as the next
Mm.
president of the United States in order to make that happen.
Good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon. That's Steve Anderson, former US Brigadier General.